So, welcome back to the Full Court Talk podcast, guys. Of course, CJ and I are back at it, and we have another special guest. So, go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up, everyone? My name is Myles. I'm a longtime friend of CJ, like 10 years now.
Yep.
I'm a huge Laker fan like him, pretty obnoxious, but when it gets down to the basketball, I'll be real about it.
I respect it. Congrats for winning the championship. That's huge for you guys.
Thanks, brother.
Get it.
You guys look like you could repeat, so we'll see. So just talk about briefly about next week. Or this week actually, we have a special pre-draft or post-draft podcast coming out. So we're gonna have 3 episodes this week, one on Thursday, and then hopefully one on Saturday or Sunday. So a really busy week for us. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because we're gonna be working very hard this week. But to go through the topics, we have a special topic, of course, the Chris Paul trade to the Suns, which kind of was just out of nowhere early this morning.
Yep.
Then we have James Harden. I had this worded very differently, but, James Harden is pushing his way to the Brooklyn Nets, as we've seen. And it just got reported that he's pushing his way either to the Brooklyn Nets or the Sixers. So he is ducking out of the West.
Yep.
Topic 2, of course, Russell Westbrook requests a trade. Is he going to get traded? We have no idea right now. Topic 3, who is the best player in the 2020 draft? So with the draft coming up this week, we're going to have a little bit more draft talk. And topic 4, Fred VanVleet and what he said on JJ Redick's podcast, which was incredibly interesting. And for the 5th topic, a little Lakers talking for you guys. Kyle Kuzma wants a sizable extension, and KCP wants more money than Danny Green. So we'll see what you guys think about that. But to get into the first topic, so James Harden is pushing his way to the Nets or even the Sixers. So this has been ongoing development for the last couple of days, and I think even today has been incredibly, just developing like crazy. So when looking at this, obviously the Rockets they don't want to trade him. I saw that they're fine with keeping both Westbrook and Harden into the season. They're not going to push for a trade, as they shouldn't. These are 2 guys that are stars in this league, James Harden being a superstar, one of the best offensive players we've seen in recent years. But I don't see how the Nets could put a package around solely players. For a rebuilding team, you need picks. And the Nets just don't have that kind of draft capital. And then you see Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, and probably Jared Allen would have to go. And that's giving up a lot of your future for another guy who's pretty much in his prime, but soon will be out of his prime. It's going to be a really interesting thing that develops because I think as the offseason goes on, we're going to see this develop even further and see if the Rockets even want to make a trade. But what do you guys think about this whole situation, of the Rockets just kind of imploding internally?
Go ahead, Mal. You go first.
All right. It's really crazy because obviously James Harden is haunted from the past half a decade of the Warriors beating him up. And then just when that dynasty crumples, you have LeBron and AD. So I could see why he wants to run to the East. I do want to give him some love, though, because he gets a lot of hate because of his play style and all that. But I respect that. One, I respect and love the hell out of him because he's a damn baller. And he carried teams practically, not by himself, but his usage was crazy. He was like a top MVP candidate for 4 or 5 years straight. So I do think if you're the Nets, you do want to make this trade happen because I've always been of the mindset of you can't both want to contend and stockpile draft picks. If you're going to contend, go all in while you have the pieces. You have Kyrie, you have KD. I do love LeVert. I do love Dinwiddie. But it's James freaking Harden, man. You're right about Houston not having any motivation to make that trade happen. But if Brooklyn can pull it off, then hats off to him.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. To be honest, I know Harden wants a ship and he wants it now. After being plagued by, that roadblock of the Warriors, and now he has AD and LeBron to go against. And like for him and Westbrook to like make it known that they don't want to be there anymore. It's a lot of things play into that. Daryl Morey leaving, going to Philly, which is why Harden is linked to them as well. But like Myles said, like if I'm Brooklyn, like I'm all in to get him. Obviously you can't deny the chemistry between KD and Harden. Things have changed since they last played together. Obviously, two different types of players, and James Harden's role back then was definitely different than it is now. But I think like Brooklyn has the pieces to win a ship without Harden. But I think getting him obviously takes them to the next step. And like from what we've seen, the packages are pretty much LeVert, Taurean Prince, Dinwiddie, and Jared Allen. And like Spence said, like that's trading a lot of your future away. And so like I'm definitely interested to see what Harden does moving forward, because a couple of weeks ago, like in previous podcasts, like Spencer said it himself, like, hey, I think Harden wants out, and I thought that like he should stay put, but in reality, like the Rockets aren't going anywhere, dude. Like the type of play style, it's not being successful at any type of level, and like Harden is a tremendous player, and unfortunately in the playoffs he just doesn't show up. In the series against the Warriors, where they were on the brink of advancing, like CP3 gets injured, and that possibly could have played a huge role in advancing, and I think they could have easily won that series. But it's just ever since then, like Harden just, I mean, he's, like I said, he's a great player, but I think he'll welcome the opportunity to play with KD and Kyrie. I mean, who wouldn't, right? But like Myles said, it's James freaking Harden. Like you have to go all in for this guy. I think he's gonna do well, and plus he gets reunited with D'Antoni, and I don't know what their relationship was like towards the end, but I mean, being reunited with an old coach is just, there's some familiarity there. They'll definitely help transition. So if I were to choose between the two as well, I'd like him to go to Brooklyn over the Sixers. So yeah,
I think a huge thing is like the one that's pushing for this is KD. Like we've seen that.
Yeah.
Is Kyrie willing to take on another superstar? Because we've seen him in the past where he doesn't like being on the back seat. And this would essentially put him as the third guy.
Yeah.
Is he mentally prepared for something like that? Because we've seen him kind of unravel as things get difficult. We saw it with the Celtics. We definitely saw it with the Cavs. And so is he okay with just taking this back seat? We haven't heard anything from him,
Yeah, you like hit it on the head, honestly, because people always talk about the fit. Like, oh, there's only one basketball. You can't have all those guys on the same team. But what I say is it like it's all about the ego, because if everyone buys into the proper role to make those like skill sets fit, it'll fit for sure.
Yeah.
Like it'll come down to James or Kyrie running the offense and how often each person does it. Yeah. So yeah, you like hit it on the head right there.
Yeah, and I think like with the people saying like, oh, there's only one ball, like you could say the same thing about the Warriors when they had KD. That was their argument. And this could easily be something that works really well or blows up in their face. But to take a chance like this is a no-brainer. It's just like getting Kyrie and KD. You do it no matter what. For someone of James Harden's caliber, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
100%, Go ahead.
And like you said, like Spence, I mean, we were talking about this the other day, Myles. Like, it's just who is going to be willing to lose touches, you know what I mean, between Kyrie and Harden. Because obviously the clear-cut best player in the team is KD, right?
Yeah.
And so Kyrie and Harden, they both need the ball to be dominant, you know what I mean? So, I mean, in a perfect world, James Harden would have to play off the ball and give up his touches because Kyrie's a point guard, you know what I mean? He's the one that initiates the offense. And so it's just, a matter of, like, who's going to give up less touches. And, like, with KD, when he went to the Warriors, I mean, he was willing to do that, give it up for Steph, Clay, and, like, they had, like, a solid chemistry. And obviously, these guys are different players, but it's just, I think it's going to come down to those two players to see whether or not who's rather get to give up. And, like, I think that's the only problem that James Harden would have. If he goes to the Sixers, then I don't think he'd have that problem because they would probably have to give up Ben Simmons, and it would be him and Embiid. But yeah, it's just, to me, like the touches, it's gonna come down to that as well. And like you said, Myles, in terms of buying in, see what they want to do with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting to see just what happens with this, like, whole Nets, Rockets, and even Sixers. Because, like, at this point, we have no idea what's going to happen. The Sixers arguably have a better trade package with Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that's even a good fit. You're just essentially just having a shooting Clint Capella with Joel Embiid, who gets injured a lot,
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see what happens. But we did forget to talk about CP3 getting traded. So we'll briefly talk about that. So CP3 was traded from the Oklahoma City Thunder to the Phoenix Suns for Kelly Oubre, and then Jalen Leque, Ty Jerome, and Ricky Rubio with draft compensation. So this is a lot to give up for a 36, 35-year-old point guard, which is insane. And that just shows how valuable Chris Paul was after the season. He took a decent team to the playoffs, and not just the 8th seed, like the 6th seed. So do the Suns have enough now to contend? And honestly, I don't think so. Like Myles and I talked briefly about this before. They don't have enough to contend with the contenders of the West. This isn't the East where you can contend. Everyone's a contender, But you have the Lakers coming off a championship, just getting Dennis Schroeder, who is a great get for them. Then you have the Golden State Warriors coming back from injuries. Steph, Clay, Dre, draft pick, Wiggins. Then you have teams like the Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. Like, they're going to come back stronger. Denver Nuggets coming back stronger. Houston Rockets, as of now, with Westbrook and Harden, and even the Clippers. There's 6-7 teams in front of you who are going to contend.
Yeah.
And to just put together Chris Paul, Booker, and DeAndre Ayton, you're going to look at a tough season. But what do you guys think about this trade?
I think it's good on the Suns because, it does make them kind of a contender. I'd say like top 4, top 5 team. But really, I think it's a play to convince Devin Booker to stay when he has to extend.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like how we're seeing with Giannis and the Bucks right now. Like, if you don't show your star that you're serious about giving them the best chance to win, then they're going to leave you high and dry. So, it'll be cool to see them in the playoffs. Probably like a first round exit for them, but long term, it's a good move for the Suns.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But go ahead, CJ.
No, I was just gonna say, no, I definitely agree with Myles. Like, Devin Booker, like, his time in Phoenix may be up, but this trade just extends that. As we've said in the previous podcast that we covered with, draft, we always say that the Suns need a guard. Even though they have Ricky Rubio, like, he was on his way out as well. And so, like, to get a caliber player like CP3, obviously, it puts them in quote unquote contention, but in a Western Conference Finals with so much elite teams, so many powerhouses, it's just like, it's going to be hard for them because, like, the teams that you listed, and you can't even forget about the Blazers and the Spurs who are trying to come back as well. You know what I mean? And so, like, if this were the East, then it'd be a no-brainer. They'd be up there.
Yeah.
But it's just what CP3 did for the Thunder, and it's crazy because, ESPN analysts and whatnot had them not even making the playoffs. And the fact that he got him up there, I think it's pretty convincing for the Suns as well as the NBA to think that, they can be up there again. And so, like, we never know. They could compete and they could do what others think that they won't. But I think it is more of a chess move in terms of making Devin Booker stay. Because, Myles, like, in the previous podcast last week, I said that Devin Booker wants to play with D'Lo and Cat. And, like, he wants out. You know what I mean? And so, like, I think this move makes him stay. I think it's a better position for him anyways, because even if he were to leave for the Wolves, like, I don't think they can make the playoffs. If they'd win games, it'd be exciting. But I think he has a better chance with Phoenix right now. But I'm also glad that Phoenix didn't give up Cam Johnson or Mikal Bridges. They had to trade Oubre. Obviously, I like Oubre, but They did this trade without those two expense. They were actually very surprising this season because, you know, they were able to buy into the culture of Phoenix with Monty Williams and help them win games. But I think they made a good trade by not giving those two up, you know, because they're young guys and, you know, they can compete and they can go alongside D-Book. But CP3, D-Book, 18, like, I don't think that would be enough to make a postseason appearance. And if they do, like you said, Myles, like, it might be a first-round exit. Yeah. So I think this is one of those trades that it's winnable on both sides. Like, Thunder go young, they get more talent, and then it's just for the Suns, like, they get D-Book to stay, and so that's what I think for the Suns.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see what the draft compensation is.
Oh yeah,
because no one's released what it is. It could be the 10th pick, which if the Suns gave up their 10th pick for CP3, it turns the whole thing around for me. I think that's a terrible trade.
Yeah, that's true.
But if it's a couple second-round picks, you know, go for it. But giving up the 10th pick for a 36-year-old guy, it's questionable. It's questionable. Mm-hmm. But, you know, so I think this is going to be a very interesting offseason like we've seen. I think we're just getting started here. But to move on, another Houston Rocket is going to make an appearance on this podcast. Russell Westbrook will request a trade, just like his buddy James Harden. So I listed where would he fit best, but at this point it just seems like they're going to give him up to anyone. Even the Hornets aren't willing to give up a pick, which no one should be willing to give up a pick for Westbrook at this point. But it's crazy to see where Russell Westbrook has come over these past couple of years, you know, averaging a triple-double, MVP candidate, to coming to the Rockets, playing a solid season, actually.
Yeah. And
requesting a trade, and nobody wants him. It's pretty crazy. We're looking at he's said that he wants to be the man again. He wants to be that guy, probably average a triple-double again. Take a bad team to the playoffs again. And you're looking at, 3 teams that fit that bill? The Hornets, the Knicks, and the Magic. Those are not good options. I get where he's coming from. He wants to add more onto his, you know, resume without not being the man, I guess. He wants to get those points, rebounds, and assists again. It's pretty crazy. I'm not sure what he's thinking, because if I'm getting older, I want to win a championship.
Yeah, but 100%. Yeah, like it's kind of like how we were talking about with Harden and Kyrie. Like, a lot of this stuff is ego. Yeah. Like, if you look back with Melo, it's not that he wasn't a serviceable guy. It was he still thought he was the guy. That's why he bounced to OKC and then to Houston and then out of the league. Because Russ is still damn good. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Spencer, before the bubble, he had like a 2 or 3 month stretch where he stopped shooting threes. He took less jumpers and he just attacked the basket.
He was playing out of his mind.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was scared of Houston in the playoffs. But then he decided to revert back to shooting jumpers and threes. So honestly, if you're Houston, you try to hold on to at least one of those dudes. One, because what else are you going to do unless you can get good assets back? But 2, like, if you have Russ, you can try to build around him maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, I told you guys this before. Like, I don't know if I mentioned it to you, Myles, but I love Russ. Like, Russ is like one of my guys, like one of my favorite players to watch. And like, the reason why is obviously he's like an elite point guard, but his demeanor just reminds me of, you know, my GOAT and Myles' GOAT, Kobe. You know what I mean? Like,
right there with
he's out. Yeah, he's out there he's trying to kill you, man. If you guys aren't the same team, like, he's trying to kill you. And like, it's upsetting to see how much he's declined as the season progressed. And like you guys said, there was a stretch where he was just going crazy. But then, like, I read a tweet, I should have saved it, but it was, you know, after he had asked for the trade, they said that this was like one of the first seasons where he shown that he was like injured. Because, you know, he's like one of the Ironmans in the NBA. Like, he would actually not be injured and just keep playing and, like, you know, put up tremendous numbers. And it's just like, I think this season took a toll on him. You know, he missed some games during the season. I can honestly say this is one of the first seasons where he wasn't like 100% healthy, and so I think that's part of the reason why he had a decline in his game as well. But regardless, like I think if one of the two were to stay, I think it'd be Russ, because I mean, even though both of them voiced their opinion on how they want to leave, it's a matter of who gets traded first, what deal they find better, and like Myles said, if they're able to trade James Harden, they can build around Russ. You know what I mean? It depends on what kind of assets they get. But Spence, the teams that you've laid out, it's not good destinations for Russ. But
Yeah.
I mean, hey, he can go to the Warriors.
Oh, please, no. No. I saw
Russell
that
plays
and I
straight up.
freaked out. I freaked out. I was like, no, please no. Please no. I'm not
Nah,
taking
there's no
Westbrook.
way. Yeah, like
Hey,
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, man, hey, you guys want to get rid of Clutchmon, and that's
I will take
one of the
Draymond. I will take Draymond, bro.
one of the best ways to do it. You know what I mean? But it's just crazy, like how when a player wants to get traded, like all these teams are obviously listed, and one of them was the Warriors. And me and Miles, obviously you're not a fan of Warriors, but we just think it's ridiculous. Where will the fit be if you were to go there? But obviously there's just rumors. Yeah, but it's just funny. You know what I mean? But yeah, go ahead, Miles. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say because I was right there with you before. Like I used to love Russ. He used to be my favorite player, because of that Mamba mentality. But what I always said about him was he was never, or he still has never been able to channel that like rage into productive basketball. He would just run through the wall, but never found out a way to get over it or around it.
Yep.
So that's where I kind of fell out of love with him, because at some point it's just like, I can't watch you do this to yourself, man. So like if he can wake up and be like, all right, I can't keep playing that recklessly, or that, like, he doesn't have the mental side of basketball. If he gets that, then he'll gain his value back, and who knows, maybe he can run his own team again. But as of right now, I don't see it.
Yeah, and I think like I've talked about this before. He gets into these little battles with these players that are just not at his level. He got in a battle with Ricky Rubio against the Jazz. I'm like, that's ridiculous, bro.
Yeah.
And he got in a fight with like fans on the sideline in the bubble.
Yeah.
And with Rondo, and it's like, these guys aren't at your caliber. Stop stooping down to them and just play above them, right? You're this superstar, and you're still just kind of going at these other point guards that have no business being on the same court as you, right? So why are you doing this? So it's just like, I get what you mean. Like, it's frustrating to watch him at times, because he just will go at them, turn over the ball, miss shots, and he'll just keep going. And it's got to be frustrating if you're a fan of the team, because you're seeing your team lose, and you're also seeing your starting point guard just kind of lose it,
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But, we're talking about the Rockets a lot. Let's take a break from them. So, who is the best player in the draft this year? So, what do you guys think? Whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, TJ.
Bro, honestly, I'm very biased, man. Trey Jones, baby. You know what I mean? No, honestly, all jokes aside, like Trey Jones is one of the most elite point guards in the draft. But for the sake of the podcast and to be realistic, I do like Anthony Edwards. I had to think a little bit, But Anthony Edwards is just because what he's shown in the Maui Invitational against Michigan State. I think that was the game that sold it for me. Being able to go off the way that he did, scoring 39 points, hitting 7 threes against Michigan State, which is, a Final Four caliber team. And, you guys know I keep up with college hoops a lot because, I do love Duke. But I think Anthony Edwards is just the clear-cut best player in this draft. I think he's the safest bet. And contrary to popular belief on what, different outlets have revealed recently, how his pro day didn't go so well. A lot of teams were basically turned off. I think, that's just a smokescreen, like what Spencer mentioned before, to deter teams away from him. But I think he will be the eventual, number one pick. But I think he's the clear-cut player. Like, in an interview with, I forgot her name, one of the reporters, he said that he wants to be locked in defensively because, he already has confidence that his offensive side is down. And I think that's a good quality to want to approach the NBA draft, because everybody wants to dominate, but nobody wants to be locked in defense like that. And so, like, watching him on his pro day, everything related to clutch and seeing how he performs and how he is, he's explosive, he can shoot, and he's like the perfect two guard. And like, he had the highest form of respect from D Wade, saying that he might be better than him, and that's D Wade saying that. You know what I mean? And so, like, coming from an OG, it just goes to show like the type of caliber that this guy is. And the reason why I hesitated earlier is because I really want to say Wiseman, but it's just like Spencer said, Myles, like, we haven't seen much of him enough for me to say that, and like, in the unicorn type setting, alongside, Porzingis, like, 6'11" Wiseman, but I want to be safe and go with Anthony Edwards.
I want to preface mine by saying I don't keep up with college hoops, and I haven't paid much attention to this current draft class until I did some homework on it.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, I'm gonna say the Ball brother, and it's not just because Alonzo's ties with the Lakers or whatever. It's a lot of it is just swagger and star power. He's played with grown men from other countries, and he's a 6'7" point guard. Actually, like two-way or 1 or 2 combo guard. And it's not like he's a terrible shooter. It's his shot selection, because he likes to pull up like Steph and Trae Young when he can't shoot like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put him in the right situation and get some good coaching for him, I think he can really develop well.
Yeah, I think with LaMelo, it's just all about the right situation. He has to fall into the perfect situation for him to succeed. If he goes to the Knicks or the Pistons, he's not going to succeed. But so I just want to, like, before I talk about my pick, I have been doing a lot of research since my team is in the lottery for the first time in like 10 years. So this might be a surprise, but I'm going to choose Killian Hayes. I've watched a lot of Killian Hayes over the past couple of weeks, and I think he's definitely shown that he's a really good player. He works hard on both ends. He's got a really nice James Harden-esque step back. He did shoot about 29% from 3, but I think the best way to tell if someone's good at shooting or can develop at least is a good free throw percentage. He shot about 80%. So he's going to be able to develop as a shooter in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most important thing is he has 2 things that's going to translate to the NBA: playmaking and defense. He's got a really good feel for the pick and roll. I think he can whip the ball across the court really well. But he just plays within himself, and I think that's super important on the offensive end. But defensively, he sticks to his man on the perimeter. He offers good offside help, good help on the post. I think he's going to be a really good player, and at 6'5" for a point guard, he's got really I think he's got a lot of potential. And I think he's probably going to be the best player in this draft. But not a lot of teams are looking at him because he's 1 from the EuroLeague. And 2, there are just a lot of other guys in front of him that offer these big names, LaMelo Ball, James Wiseman, Anthony Edwards. But I think Killian Hayes could be he could be that guy in this draft. But we'll get into more of the draft more this week. Obviously, the draft is on Wednesday. We'll be here Thursday to talk all about that. But so moving on to the next topic, Fred VanVleet on JJ Redick's podcast said, "I'm trying to get paid. I'm not shy about that. I feel like I'm on the verge of blossoming even more with more of a lead role. I won a championship, and now it's time to cash out." So what do you guys think of this?
Man, Fred, go get that bag. That's the struggle. It's you gotta pretty much as a player pick between getting paid or winning a chip. So as he said, Fred won a chip. So cash out while you can when you're in the league, and if you can get another chip in the process, then that's the cherry on top.
Yeah, and I think at first I thought it was like confusing to me because the Raptors gave him his first shot, but then you look at what they have to get back. The Raptors are going to have to re-sign a lot. There's no way they're going to be able to retain Fred VanVleet at the money that he wants. And if I'm a team, I'm giving him like a 1-and-1 prove-it deal, about like 18-20 million. He's a good player. He absolutely killed the Warriors in the finals. We saw that. And he plays really hard on both ends. I really like his game. Good shooter, good finisher, good defender. I think any team that needs a point guard would love to have him.
Yeah, honestly, like I agree. Like he deserves to get paid. Like Fred VanVleet, he's a dog. We've seen that like in Wichita State, and he's always had a chip on his shoulder. He went undrafted. The Raptors gave him a chance, and he more than made up for that chance because he helped deliver a chip. And so like moving forward, like Myles said, like he's hot right now with the way that he's been playing and what he's shown so far. So he deserves to get that money. And like you said, Spence, like any team can use a player like that because he's not the tallest player, but he'll play both ends hard, and like he can shoot, he can get to the basket, and I think he's obviously one of the Raptors' best player. But see, the thing is, like you said about the Raptors, Spence, like they have to bring a lot of pieces back.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that season they won this chip, like their roster was comprised of big name players that used to be good and then kind of fell off. And like, for example, like Jeremy Lin, and then like, what do you call this? Danny Green. And then like, it kind of reminded me of the Clippers when they had Paul Pierce. Cause you knew everybody on that roster, you know what I mean? From the starters to the bench. That's how the Raptors were to me. But the only difference is they were actually able to carry it on to a ship. But now, looking in, I think Fred VanVleet obviously deserves to get paid, but they just have to, bring back so much. Like, what are they going to do about Gasol? You know what I mean? And so I think he deserves to get paid, whether it's with the Raptors or with, another championship caliber team. But it's just, I hope he doesn't go to a non-contender. You know what I mean? He's too good of a player to waste his prime years like that because he's also pretty old. You know what I mean? You got to remember he went all 4 years in college. It's not like he left early.
He's 26 or 27, so he's not young.
He's not young.
Off such a deal like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So he needs to get it now. He still got it pretty much. But I obviously I just think he deserves to get paid.
Yeah, I definitely respect it. Like he's worked so hard. Like he talked about it in the podcast. Like he's done a lot through his career, and he's still pretty young.
Yeah.
To fight for that spot and come on to the Raptors, and then eventually become a role player, then become a starter in the finals, and like just absolutely kill it, So huge respect for him because he is a great player, and I think the only problem is he's going to go to a bad team.
100%.
I could definitely see the Knicks just being like, "Hey, you want a max? We'll give you a max," because they are stupid at times.
Yeah,
and we're gonna get into them a little later, but they are, or not they are. I think VanVleet is gonna get paid this offseason. He is going to get that $18 to $20 million. Hopefully, it's longer than a 1-1, but he is going to be a very good player in this league, I think. But to get to the last topic, so Kyle Kuzma wants a sizable extension. CJ and I have talked about this, and I know how he feels about him. He absolutely loves Kyle Kuzma.
Exactly.
He was super sad about Danny Green getting traded. It's I know it's pretty tough for him.
Going through right now, man.
But so Myles, before we get into this, what do you think of Kyle Kuzma?
Man, it's crazy because CJ and I remember his rookie year. He was our best player that year, and the amount of joy and hope he brought to us, I don't forget that.
Mm-hmm.
But you fast forward to now, he hasn't really improved as a player, and he's kind of regressed in his maturity where he thinks he's way better than he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he did have a big role in us winning the championship this year, but I'm not going to extend him for the number that he wants. I was telling CJ this, I would have packaged him with Danny Green to try to get something big back, but now he doesn't make enough to get something back that's super impactful. So I think at this point you just don't extend him, let him hit free agency next year, and then see what happens then.
Yeah.
Go ahead, CJ, because I know you want to talk about this.
Hey, man, I love Kuzma.
Say that with a straight face.
Hey, exactly. You know what? I agree with Myles. Like, don't extend the guy. Just don't. Like, I was truly hoping, I was praying, man, that we were gonna get rid of him. Like, honestly, like Myles said, he brought so much promise that rookie season. And if you were to tell me at that point in time, when we were, the season after, obviously we're, the rumors are escalating with AD. If you were to ask me which one out of all those pieces that we gave up, which was, could have been the best fit alongside Bron and AD, I would have said Kuzma. I would have not said Zoe. I would have not said BI, especially not Josh Hart. So I would have said Kuzma. And, when they made the trade, I was sad to see the young guys go. But at the same time, I was like, okay, Kuz is like the guy. Like, he can run with varsity. He's that JV player that can run with varsity. But, it's never translated, man. And, like, you guys follow me on Twitter. You know how I feel about him. And it's just, he does not deserve that extension from the Lakers. You know what I mean? He deserves it elsewhere. Another team that wants to buy in with the talent and the ceiling. Because, contrary to popular belief, including, myself, I'm the only one that believes this. Kuzma, he can get better. He can definitely get better. One of the things that he does well is cutting. If he can build off of that and just know his role, then he can make that next step. But he doesn't want to, man. It's just the decisions that he makes. It's just bonehead decisions, bro. Like during the playoffs, and it was just so upsetting to watch because, me and Myles, we know this, man. Like we wanted him to be that guy. You know what I mean? To be able to run with AD and Bron, and it's just it wasn't him. And so, like, hell no, he does not deserve that extension. Hell no, you know what I mean? And so, like, I hope he makes me eat everything that I've said this upcoming season. I mean, that's what I'm hoping. It's a win-win for me. I don't mind, admitting that I'm wrong. Same way it was with KCP. You see what KCP did.
Oh yes, 100%.
100%. You know what I mean? I used to talk so much about KCP, and you know what? Look what happened. And so, if Kuzma can do that for the upcoming season, then I'd be glad. But to answer the question, Spence, no, he does not deserve that extension.
I go off of what? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
In my opinion, I think I would give him like a max and just ship off LeBron and AD. I just think that's
right?
your best bet. Go ahead,
exactly.
I hadn't thought about like his ceiling, like him actually developing more. But now that you mention it, he can, because I remember early on, biased fan, I was like, yo, he's kind of like a young Carmelo Anthony, because his offensive bag as a rookie was really good. Yeah. But now, like as of right now, he's not a good enough shooter to have a garbage handle. And so, like, you can't be a scorer if you can't, one, get by people, or two, like, shoot at a well enough clip. So yeah, man, like I'm hoping like this year he can actually improve and be in the conversation for most improved player. But if not, then thanks for the chip, and I hope you get paid next summer, Kuz.
I think he's if I was them, I probably would have packaged him with Danny Green, or maybe sign KCP and do a sign and trade to whoever wants him and just package Kuzma with him. But at this point, like, I think it's going to be so difficult because, like you guys said, he has a really small contract. You're not going to get enough back for him unless it's like, I guess a Kendrick Nunn is your best bet, and you guys don't even need him anymore because you already have Dennis Schroeder. So at this point, I guess run it back with him. But like you guys said, he's regressed a lot.
Yeah.
And somehow he's still making rookie mistakes, even though it's like his third, fourth year in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see what has happened with him. I think a kind of a part of that is LeBron coming. Not that LeBron helps people like regress, but I think such a young guy it's hard to play with LeBron. We've seen that. We've heard that.
Yeah.
So putting a guy like Kuz, who had the utmost confidence, and we've seen that confidence almost turn into cockiness, and he's just kind of like turned and gave a 180 and just walking backwards. It's crazy.
It's a fine line
Yeah.
there, yeah.
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 And I think being in LA has really hurt him too. Because I think he's not used to being in a big city like this coming from Michigan, you know. So it's kind of different. And
Yeah.
at this point, Kuz is your best bet as a power forward. I guess he could come off the bench, but I don't know if he'd want to.
Yeah.
But we're definitely gonna see.
What I was telling CJ was, I mean, I'm hoping he can step into like KCP's role last year, and KCP steps into Danny Green's role, because they were our like two premier 3-and-D wings.
Yeah.
So if Kuz can provide that defensive versatility and have much more efficiency shooting from three, then he definitely has a spot on this team at his current price. But because honestly, every championship team has those players who are worth more than their contract or their role. Think about Andre Iguodala. He was an all-star in Denver, or maybe not in Denver, but like he wasn't far off being an all-star until he took that six-man role.
Yeah, and I think like to get into the KCP, like he reportedly wants more money than Danny Green, who makes $15 million. Would you guys sign him for 17 to 18 million?
Yes. Well, I mean, you know what? I'm just being biased because, you know, I want the chemistry back from last year. Yeah. But it's just, you know, that 17 mil is going to play a lot into what we do moving forward. But it's just, man, I would not want to see him go. I think if we have the money to do it, I say we do it. But I think of all the players that we have left, he's one of the ones that, you know, are in danger of leaving. He's one of the more like important ones, obviously. So, I mean, I hope we can. But yeah, what do you think, Myles?
Yeah, man. That's kind of a high number to me. But if AD and LeBron want him, then who the hell am I to say don't pay him that much?
Yeah.
I mean, there's still remnants of how trash he was the past couple of years, but he's proven himself in the bubble. Yeah. And like you do need premier 3-and-D guys to win. So that's our guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think KCP like really made us eat our words. Like CJ and I were very low on him going into the playoffs. Because like I remember seeing him play when, you know, before LeBron. Like I would go to the games and see him live, and the dude would just like ISO. He'd wave off everyone and be like, he'd go and airball three, and it's like, okay, that's your guy.
Dude, he made Kobe leave on his jersey retirement, bro. I was like, come on, man. how you airball like that?
Man.
Yeah. So KCP is like he's an interesting guy. You know, I think he really played better towards the end of the season. You know, in the bubble, he really showed out in the finals. He made some clutch shots for them. So if I'm the Lakers and I can afford KCP, go for it. I think Rondo's a guy that's going to be a tough pill to swallow because, you know, Rondo was so important in that playoff, like that whole playoff run. But you do have Alex Caruso who can play the point. So you have Dennis Schroeder, you have Alex Caruso. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But Rondo's going to get a nice little payday too. I think he's going to get $5-6 million, and I don't think the Lakers can afford that at this point for an aging point guard like that.
I just hope he doesn't go to the Clippers, man. You know what it is? Like, I mean, I've heard that he goes to the Hawks to mentor Trae Young. I mean, that'd be cool, but it's not the Clippers, man. Because playoff Rondo, I hate to go back on my word, it's something else. Man, oh, man. So, yeah, you're right.
We're going to see what happens. But that's a wrap for podcast 17. So thank you to CJ and Myles for hopping on. Myles, come back whenever you want. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, I had a blast. I want to thank you guys for having me on. CJ, thanks for reaching out, brother. Spencer, it was great meeting you. I mean, I just love like sports banter is fun, and the people who get it, like, I love it.
Yeah.
But I also love just like buckling down, talking straight hoops.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I try not to like bag on casuals that much either. because this is time consuming. This is literally a lifestyle. So
Yeah.
shout out to you guys, you ball is lifers. Appreciate y'all, and I'll catch you guys around.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I think this is just the start of it. Trade season is here, and we are seeing everything happening. Crazy signings are going to happen. The draft is coming, so be sure to look out for our draft episode coming on Thursday. But and I got a special Warriors one going up on Sunday. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We have a lot coming. Check out our social medias in the description. Check out my website, fullcourttalk.com. But catch you guys in the next one.